So what's up, everybody? Part 2 of this bad boy on the Book of Aquarius and the Philosopher's Stone. We really got to understand just how deep this is because, we've lost the understanding of nature, the microcosm. As we are below, there is that above. And when we understand the process of all the elements, including the fifth being the aether, and we quit minimizing the breath in which we take and understand that that is part of the body of the Most High, right? It gets deeper. It gets a lot deeper. So we're going to go over the powers of the stone itself as far as the Philosopher's Stone. So I want to explain a few of the many possible uses of the Philosopher's Stone itself. The possibilities for its use are vast and beyond the imagination of a regular person. However, I will outline the traditional uses. There are two forms of the Philosopher's Stone, the white stone and the red stone. The white stone transmutes any metal into silver. The red stone is more powerful and more well known and transmutes any metal into gold. Furthermore, know that the making of gold and silver were considered the least desirable effects of the stone itself. The effects on the body and mind have always been considered to be worth so much more than the money. It is because the stone makes gold and silver that these were used as currency throughout history, not that the stone makes gold and silver because they have value. Quote, "Let not him who desires this knowledge for the purpose of procuring wealth and pleasure think that he will ever attain to it. Those, therefore, that desire this art as a means of procuring temporal honor, pleasure, and wealth are the most foolish of men, and they can never obtain that which they seek at so great an expense of money, time, and trouble, and which fills their hearts, their minds, and all their thoughts. For this reason the sages have expressed a profound contempt for worldly wealth, not as though it were in itself a bad thing, seeing that it is highly commended in Holy Scripture as an excellent gift of God, but because of its vile abuse. They despised it because it seemed to hinder men from following the good and the true, and to introduce a mischievous confusion into their conceptions of right and wrong." The Sophic Hydrolith, or water stone of the wise, 17th century. "But now concerning, and chiefly in this our age, the ungodly and accursed gold making, which hath gotten so much the upper hand, whereby, under color of it, many renegades and roguish people do use great villainies, and cozen and abuse the credit which is given them. Yea, nowadays men of discretion do hold the transmutation of metals to be the highest point, and fastigum in philosophy. This is all their intent and desire, and that God would be most esteemed by them and honored, which could make great store of gold, and in abundance, the which with unpremeditate prayers they hope to attain all-knowing God, and searcher of all hearts. We thereby, therefore, do by these presents publicly testify that the true philosophers are far of another mind, esteeming little the making of gold, which is but paragon. For besides that they have 1,000 better things." Famine, Fraternitatis, the Rosicrucians in 1614 AD. If you do not yet understand how and why the stone works, what the active principle is, then this will all sound unbelievable. But once you understand that the stone is simply a concentrated and highly developed form of energy, which is the true nourishment of all things that grow, animals, plants, minerals, etc., then you will not only understand how the stone can perform such a wide range of miracles, but also be able to think up further uses for yourself. I will begin with a long quote which sums up the traditional uses quite well. Then I will continue with a detailed list of uses frequently mentioned in the alchemical literature. I will end with another quote revealing wider and less mentioned uses. So, starting off with this one. "In its first state it appears as an impure earthly body, full of imperfections. It then has an earthly nature, healing all sickness and wounds in the bowels of men, producing good and consuming proud flesh, expelling all stench, and healing generally, inwardly, and outwardly. In its second nature it appears as a watery body, somewhat more beautiful than before because, although still having its corruptions, its virtue is greater. It is much nearer the truth and more effective in works. In this form it cures cold and hot fevers and is a specific against poisons. which it derives from the heart and lungs, healing the same when injured or wounded, purifying the blood, and taken 3 times a day. It is of great comfort in all diseases. But in its third nature, it appears as an aerial body, of an oily nature, almost freed from all imperfections, in which form it does many wondrous works, producing beauty and strength of body, and a small quantity being taken in the food, preventing and heating of the gall, increasing the quantity of the blood and seed, so that frequent bleeding becomes necessary. It expands the blood vessels, cures withered limbs, restores strength to the sight. In growing persons, removes what is superfluous and makes good defects in the limbs. In its fourth nature, it appears in a fiery form, not quite freed from all imperfections, still somewhat watery and not dried enough, wherein it has many virtues, making the old young and reviving those at the point of death. For if to such a one and one there be given in wine, a barley's corn weight of this fire, so that it reach the stomach, it goes to his heart, renewing him at once, driving away all previous moisture and poison, and restoring the natural heat of the liver. Given in small doses to old people, it removes the diseases of age, giving the old young hearts and bodies, people. Hence, it is called the elixir of life. In its fifth and last nature, it appears in a glorified and illuminated form, without defects, shining like gold and silver, wherein it possesses all previous powers and virtues in a higher and more wondrous degree. Here, its natural works are taken for miracles. When applied to the roots of dead trees, they revive, bringing forth leaves and fruit. A lamp, the oil of which is mingled with this spirit, continues to burn forever without diminution. It converts crystals into the most precious stones of all colors, equal to those from the mines, and does many other incredible wonders which may not be revealed to the unworthy, for it heals all dead and living bodies without other medicine. Unquote. The book of the Revelation of Hermes by Theophrastus Paracelsus, 16th century. So it's a medicine, a universal medicine for the body, right? We've established this. I mean, look at all those examples. The red stone is much more powerful than the white stone. A single dose can have a large effect, depending on the strength of the stone and whether it be white or red. However, for a lasting effect, the stone should be ingested, eaten daily, else your body and mind will begin deteriorating again. If ingested, it will cure all disease, and in higher concentrations will make an old person healthy and fitter than they were even in their youth. If taken suddenly in high concentration, the body will purge itself of everything unnecessary, which may result in going through a shocking transformation over a couple of weeks, with one's skin peeling off, hair and teeth falling out, then growing back in prime condition. Taken regularly in high concentration, it will be necessary to eat, drink, or even breathe. And when I mean necessary, I meant to say unnecessary. Although these may be done anyway, the body will never grow old. You will heal from wounds extremely quickly and be unaffected by heat and cold. Quote, prepared as medicine and sweet food when taken into the mouth, it may immediately penetrate the human frame, greatly holding to itself every fleshly thing, increasing, restoring, and nourishing the incorrupt virtue and spirit of life, digesting the crude and undigested, removing the superfluous, making natural water abound, and augmenting, comforting, and inflaming natural heat or fire. The above will be the duty of the true physician and sane philosopher, for thus will he be able to preserve our body from corruption, to retard old age, retain fluid or florid youth in full vigor, and if possible to perpetuate it, at least to preserve it from death and destruction. Unquote. Man, the best and most perfected or perfect of God's creatures, by Benedictus Figulus, 1607 AD. Quote, for a month every day let there be taken of this blessed powder, the quantity of a grain of mustard seed in white wine, or in any other liquor early in the morning. It is sudorific, or causing sweat, if anything be, to be sent forth by the pores. It is laxative, if anything be, to be evacuated by stool. It is diuretic, if anything be, to be driven forth by the passage of urine. But it is never vomitive, as that is altogether contrary to nature. It not only rectifieth man's body, but also reneweth the whole man by the use thereof continued for a few weeks. Unquote. The Crowning of Nature, 16th century. Our stone is the golden tree of whose fruit whosoever eats shall not hunger again. An excellent introduction to the art of alchemy by Peter Bonis, 14th century. The stone will bring one to their very best and sharpest state of mind. Now, I know y'all have always heard of that one movie where that dude takes that little pill and he's just unlimited. The mind's just, he has no limits. He's good to go, super smart. Gets a drag or something, right? Like, quits taking it, starts deteriorating again. That's what it kind of sounds like, right? You will be able to learn even faster than as a child, and very easily pick up new languages and learn skills naturally without making much effort. Arguably, the best quality of all is that the stone will release one from sadness, depression, and suffering, therefore also making one kind and caring towards others. Quote, our art frees not only the body but also the soul from the snares of servitude and bondage. It ennobles the rich and comforts and relieves the poor. Indeed, it may be said to supply every human want and to provide a remedy for every form of suffering. Unquote. The New Pearl of Great Prince by Peter Bonis, 1338 AD. Quote, he that has once found this art can have nothing else in all the world to wish for than that he may be allowed to serve his God, than that he may be allowed to serve his God in peace and safety. He will not care for pomp or dazzling outward show, but if he lived 1,000 years and daily entertained 1,000,000 people, he could never come to want. Unquote. An open entrance to the closed palace of the king by anonymous sage and lover of truth, 1645 AD. The stone is a fast track to spiritual enlightenment and considered by the ancient Indians, Tibetans, and Chinese to be the only method to achieve enlightenment without meditation. It is considered by the ancient Chinese Taoists to be the preferred method. With accelerated spiritual growth and unlimited life, energy, and chi, the possibilities eventually became limitless, and one will be capable of anything. Quote, Tan is the supremely priceless, valuable medicine of the material body. Successful compounding leads to endless changes. It makes it possible for one to ascend to meet the Chin Tzu, true men, and further to solve the problem of Wu Xing, non-living, by its skillful use. Even if you are able to apprehend the true nature of Buddhism, i.e. to become of a Buddha, you will not be able to avoid giving up your body here and acquiring another body there. What can be better than compounding the great Tan medicine at the same time? Then you can overcome Wu to no leak to become a Chen Jin, true man. The doors of Xixiang and Biyin are seldom known by the people. They are really not the nose and the mouth, as some persons think. Even if you practice breathing for years, how can you make the golden wu or crow capture the two or rabbit? Unquote. Wu Qin Bian, Essay on the Understanding of Truth by Cheng Bao Tuan, 1078 AD Chinese. Whoever eats any of the medicines may rise on high or stay in this world according to his desire. Unquote. On the gold medicine and on the yellow and the white by Ko Hung, 4th century Chinese. The stone will cause plants to grow extremely quickly as well, very healthy and in any condition. The stone allows any metal to be transmuted into silver with the white stone or gold with the red stone. It is also possible to transmute gold back into the lesser metals. Quote, this matter, after having received perfect whiteness, perfect redness, and fixation, tings all imperfect metals into the best silver and gold. The chemist's key by Henry Nollius, 1617 AD. Quote, the purer the metals are, and the greater their affinity to our substance, the more easily are they received by the tincture. And the most perfect and rapid is the process of regeneration, for the transformation consists in all that is impure and unsuitable being purged off and rejected like dross. In the same manner, flawed stones can be transmuted into precious diamonds, and common crystal can be so tinged as to become equal to the most precious stones. Moreover, many other things may be done with the tincture which must not be revealed to the wicked world. These virtues of the stone, and others of a like kind, are looked upon as the least important by the sages, and by all Christians on whom God has bestowed this most precious gift. Such men think them vile indeed when compared with knowledge of God and his works which is afforded by the stone. The Sophic Hydrolith, or Water Stone of the Wise, by Anonymous, 17th century. Quote, every mercury of metals and minerals may, by successive stages, be raised through the quantities of all other mercuries to the excellence of the solar body, and thence also be reduced to the degree and virtue of any metallic body one may choose. Unquote. A golden and blessed casket of nature's marvels by Benedictus Figulus, 1607 AD. This stone can be used to grow and develop precious stones and diamonds. Quote, our stone matures all immature precious stones and brings them to their highest perfection. Unquote. An explanation of the natural philosopher's tincture of Paracelsus by Alexander von Suchen, 16th century. The stone can be used to make glass malleable, that is, so you can beat it into shape without shattering. Quote, our substance is a body containing spirit, which makes glass malleable and turns crystals into carbuncles. Unquote. A very brief tract concerning the philosophical stone by an unknown German sage, 15th century. Traditionally, lamps can be made of the stone which burned forever, or at least 1,000 years. Therefore, it can be also used to generate an almost unlimited amount of electricity and be used as a power source. I will cover ever-burning lamps in more detail at a later point. The stone certainly has some interesting properties which could make sci-fi technologies, of course, possible. Quote, everlasting fire, of which many alchemists boast. The fire used aforetime by the Jews for their burnt offerings, which burnt continually without becoming extinguished, which also was hidden by the prophet Jeremiah before the first destruction of Jerusalem, and afterwards was discovered by Ezra. Unquote. An explanation of the natural philosopher's tincture of Paracelsus by Alexander von Suchen, 16th century. The stone can be used to grow human animals outside of the womb, or create clones. It is possible to make them giants or dwarf them. It is also possible to create hybrids or new species out of different animals, or even animals and humans. Quote, wherein we find many strange effects as continuing life in them, though divers parts, which you account vital, be perished and taken forth, resuscitating of some that seem dead in appearance and the like. We try also all poisons and other medicines upon them, as well of jujury as psychic. But art likewise we make them greater or smaller than their kind is, and contrariwise dwarf them and stay their growth. We make them more fruitful and bearing than their kind is, and contrariwise barren and not generative. Also we make them differ in color, shape, activity, many ways. We find means to make commixtures and copulations of diverse kinds, which have produced many new kinds, and them not barren, as general opinion is. Unquote. The New Atlantis by Francis Bacon, 1627 AD. And if you really notice what's going on there, is he's telling you that they are creating all kinds of hybrid animals within the art itself as far as alchemy is concerned, within the little microcosm, the little universe of the tincture itself. By using different substances, they were able to create, utilizing nature, and allowing nature to do what it does. And like I said, we'll go into this in greater detail at a later point. So finally, we have further lists of uses of the Philosopher's Stone from Francis Bacon's Magnalia Natura. So, it's the glorious works of nature, especially in regards to human uses, appended to Bacon's New Atlantis. The prolonging of life, the restitution of youth in some degree, the retardation of age, the curing of diseases counted incurable, the mitigation of pain, more easy and less loathsome purgings, the increasing of strength and activity, the increasing of ability to suffer torture or pain, the altering of complexions and fatness and leanness, the altering of statures, the altering of features, the increasing and exalting of the intellectual parts, versions of bodies into other bodies, making of new species, transplanting of one species into another, instruments of destruction as of war and poison, acceleration of the spirits and putting them in good disposition, force of the imagination either upon another body or upon the body itself, acceleration of time and maturations, acceleration of time and clarifications, acceleration of putrefaction, acceleration of decoction, acceleration of germination, making rich composts for the earth, impressions of the air and raising of tempests, great alteration as in induration, immolition, etc., turning crude and watery substances into oily and unctuous substances, drawing of new foods out of substances not now in use, making new threads for apparel and new stuffs such as paper, glass, etc., natural divinations, deceptions of the senses, greater pleasures of the senses, artificial minerals and cements. Again, this is from Magnalia Natura by Francis Bacon in 1627 AD. So I know you are in disbelief right now. You're listening to me and you're like, what the hell is going on? Tone, what are you telling us, Tone of E? What are you telling us? Yo, I'm telling you exactly what it is. Nature is nature. And these alchemists were manifesting that for a very long time. They spoke in code because of those who wanted to end the practice, end the art, whatever, anything that was mystical or played on the natural aspect of nature itself, knowing that you were all powerful and not having something to submit to, such as Jesus Christ. You got to look at the aspect that Jesus Christ was something to bow down to. It was either accept this person and bow down to them being of the highest authority and they died for your sins, whatever the case may be. If you didn't do it, you were persecuted. How does that play out right? It's weird to me. So our practices of understanding at some point had to be on the hush-hush because of those who sought to destroy and kill and murder and persecute for what they wanted, which was control. It was never about a belief, it was all about a control. Why would a belief such as one so holy seek to destroy? And that's where it's been ever since. And so as we continue again to understand these deeper principles of the Philosopher's Stone and nature, we can dive into more about how we can manifest such great things for ourselves in the creation of them. It's not just about when people talk about alchemy, the spirit, as far as yourself, your inner spirit, and the transmutation or transformation of that, but actual in a physical sense. The fifth element, the ether sense, that spirit that it manifests all, that is all encompassing, that constant. Just as the four elements are constant, so is ether. It's like we've all lost that. And, we're getting back there. So we're going to continue to move forward. Part 3 is coming up. It's going to be about disbelief, and maybe we'll get into some more even on that. But, this is going to be good. So we're going to continue forward. I love all y'all. We'll keep it up.